Today we're going to be continuing the storyline of Injustice versus the Masters of the Universe, issues 3 and 4. To catch you up quickly, Injustice is a universe in which Superman lost Lois and then started to create a militant rule, where Batman was fighting against him. At the end of the entire storyline, Batman seemingly won, but in an alternate ending in the video game, Superman won by using Brainiac tech and controlling Batman's brain. In a storyline following that alternate continuity, we have a universe in which they went out to look for another hero that can help them, and they found the hero, known as He-Man. They brought him to the Injustice universe, where we discovered that there is a current Batman and the Batman that Superman has captive, and we also discovered that Superman had Skeletor on his side. After getting a lay of the land, He-Man grabbed some of the Crypt-Tech armor that Superman had created by taking it off of Bane, and now he's ready for the assault. If you're wondering where you are, this is the Comicstorian channel, where we take some of your favorite lore and pop culture storylines out of video games, comic books, and movies, and we break them down into audio dramas. And today, we're going to be continuing this plot. A short while after He-Man returned, everyone is gathered together, and Batman begins to go over the plans to attack the Oracle. It is surrounded by pylons fueled by independent antimatter reactors, which generate the electromagnetic dome. With He-Man bringing back 2 working suits and Orko's unique skills, they have a shot at getting through. He-Man then says Teela and him will get in and destroy the central control array in the Oracle. They'll disconnect it from all pre-programmed weapon systems, and their forces can then overwhelm the Suicide Squad. Once that happens, he will take their world back from Superman and give it to the heroes. Everyone gets ready to head out, but Batman stops, asking if he can have a word. He-Man tells him that there's no need to apologize for earlier, and Batman tells him, "I am not apologizing. What I wanted to say was at first I wasn't sure of you, if we had found the right guy to help us stand up against Superman. You started this game so young, but you're proud. You're a spoiled prince with the pressure of a heroic legacy hanging over you. In other words, we're very much the same." Batman pulls down his mask, revealing himself to be Damian Wayne, and he says that he is the heir to the mantle of Batman. On the path to attaining his legacy, blood was shed. He killed his best friend, and though they share much, they are different. You made your parents proud. Meanwhile, on Eternia, with the team that Batman left behind, reports come from the Sorceress that they have been missing prisoners from Darksmoke. The Sorceress gets up, uneasy at the thought, and Cyborg asks if they should make contact with He-Man and ask him to return if they get attacked. The Sorceress tells them no matter what, tomorrow, somewhere we'll always need a He-Man. But outside, the two teams talk with each other when suddenly Stratos falls out of the sky and onto the ground. A voice calls out that he would have been added to the army, but as they can tell, they've already had some recent additions. Starfire looks up to see Steppenwolf and quickly calls out to everyone that they are under attack. Princess Corey of Tamarin commands you, attack and defend! Meanwhile, back on Earth, Teela looks through the rubble to find a picture of a family and says that she's never seen such destruction. They say that Superman's almost a god, so why didn't he just rebuild Metropolis? He-Man tells her from the tales that he read, he did. He put everything back to the way it was after the explosion, right down to every detail. He said the world needed a reminder of what could happen if they don't listen to him. But this is it, the moment of truth. He steps through the barrier, cautiously looking around, and just when everything seems okay, there's a rumbling at his feet. Moments later, a giant worm bursts out of the ground, and Orko yells that these are the rot beings from the Black Realm. Superman must have seeded the grounds with them. Teela jumps up attacking the worm, telling He-Man to go on ahead, she'll handle these. He-Man takes out the Sword of Power, telling the other worms as he slices through them, "Excuse me, mind if I cut in?" With one powerful blow, He-Man creates a hole into the Oracle, but is quickly grabbed by the building security protocols. He struggles to hold onto his sword and he says, "By the power of Grayskull, I have the power!" Lightning shoots through the area, freeing He-Man from the building's grasp, but just then something else happens. The Bane suit that he is wearing begins to short out, stating that Crypt-Tech reconfiguring. As the lightning fades, He-Man looks at the armor, now showing it to be more like his original armor infused with Crypt-Tech. He says, "That's good." But before he could finish the thought, Lobo punches him in the face, stating, "Your jury today is Subject Lobo." Then he's followed up by Deathstroke, Killer Frost, Solomon Grundy, Cheetah, and finally Grodd. However, it's not just on Earth that the villains have begun to show themselves. Back on Eternia, battling against Darkseid's parademons continue, all while Darkseid himself is watching, commanding both his army and the villains of Eternia. Back on Earth, He-Man wastes no time fighting off Wonder Woman's Suicide Squad. He charges in, kicking Lobo's jaw almost clean off, slamming Grodd's head into Solomon Grundy's and taking Deathstroke's sword, stabbing him with it. Lobo gets ready to grab him from behind, but a sonic cry rings out, popping his eyes. He-Man looks back. Thanks. And Black Canary tells him, no problem, handsome, while the Green Arrow yells, hey, I'm right here! As the last of the Suicide Squad is dispatched, He-Man, Teela, and Damian break through to the top of the Oracle, with Damian shouting, asking, what have they done to my father? Batman wakes up, stating, detecting insurgent intruders. Recommendation, strike terror into their hearts. Orko begins to cast his magic, shocking the system that Batman is connected to, and Batman snaps back, struggling, asking, ugh, what happened? Damian tells him that Superman wanted to save the world, but he didn't even care about saving his own cousin. The last of his line. He used Supergirl for his own ends, just like Ra's al Ghul did to him when he was younger. Blood may not mean anything to Supergirl, but it means everything to him. Before Damian can free Batman, the lasso of truth is suddenly around his neck, pulling him back. Teela then jumps in, kicking at Wonder Woman's arm, and Wonder Woman tells her to come. It's been far too long since she broke in a shield maiden. He-Man reaches for his sword, but a voice says, I do hope they hurt each other. He-Man looks back, shouting, Skeletor? And Skeletor asks, surprised? Thought I was dead? Killed by the most powerful man in the universe? Just then, He-Man feels immense heat pouring on him as Superman breaks through, hitting him with the full blast of his heat vision. Skeletor cackles, telling him, no, old friend, I'm afraid you've mistaken me for you. Orko quickly flies over to Batman to try and help free him, and as he does, he slowly comes to his senses. But what he sees in front of him is Damian, dead. Images of Damian flash before Batman's eyes, and he tells Orko that this isn't his fight. Batman then stands up, ripping the regime insignia off his chest, shouting, I am the leader of the Resistance. I am Bruce Wayne. I am Batman. I am a father. Across the room, He-Man slowly gets back up with the heat vision blast hitting him, and Superman tells him, you may have that magical sword, but you are young and inexperienced. The Resistance must be desperate. You couldn't even give your own people what they wanted. He-Man tells him, no, I gave my people what they deserved, a choice. But as that goes on, Skeletor sneaks away and a voice calls out asking, so you're him, huh? The demon mage who's been helping Superman? Zatanna tips her hat, stating that he's been trying to break her spells of concealment, but he wasn't trying too hard. This access pool, it goes right to Eternia, right? They said that you were very cunning and manipulative. What are you playing at? Skeletor reaches into his robes, stating that he is a broken refugee in a foreign land, only armed with this charm and a big damn magical sword. Back in the fray, Superman slams He-Man into the side of a building, stating, you reminded me of someone I knew once, Billy Batson. He was about your age, same youthful spirit. He saw everything so clearly, right and wrong, good guys and bad guys, black and white, nothing in between. Superman then punches He-Man, stating, Billy thought that he could fix every problem with a magical word, Shazam! But in the end, Billy had to die too. As Superman flies in for the kills, He-Man swings back, stating, I know all about him, and about the man that you once were. Ever since Lois died, you stopped looking for the truth and accepted lies. That this is the only way. You didn't need the reporter anymore. You could be Superman without Clark Kent. But the truth is, you need Clark Kent just as much as He-Man needs Prince Adam. Because without him, you've forgotten your humanity. He-Man plunges the sword downwards towards Superman's chest, telling him, I'm sorry, but there's nothing left to save. There's nothing left but the machine. Superman struggles to keep the sword from piercing him, telling him, yes, the machine. Brainiac's machine, let me take control. The machine is everywhere. The machine is in the Cryptek armor. And that makes you mine. While Superman begins to dominate He-Man's mind, Wonder Woman watches, stating, yes, destroy the dissident. While Teela tries to stop her from choking Batman with the lasso, Wonder Woman throws her off and tells Batman, this needed to happen. This was a hard choice to make, and I made the right one. You were always too stubborn to admit that you chose the wrong side. Now tell me this isn't better. Admit that this is the world you always wanted. You can't resist the lasso, Batman. As Wonder Woman pulls, she suddenly releases her grip, with Teela pulling the sword out of her back and kicking her away. While Batman shouts, what have you done? She tells him, this is war, Batman, and war has casualties. Wonder Woman coughs through her blood, stating, good soldier. But back on Eternia, in Castle Grayskull, the sorceress hears the booming coming from outside the chambers, and Darkseid tells her, let me in. The sorceress shouts that none but the bearer of the power sword may enter this hall. And Darkseid says, "Very well. I bear no power sword, but I do possess the Omega effect." He focuses his beams on the door, and as he looks, the beams have no effect. "No magic can stop me. I deny it. There's nothing before my will." As Darkseid zeroes in, the Omega beams break through, knocking the sorceress out of her throne. Back on Earth, Superman laughs, stating that he needed this. It's been far too long since he's had a good old-fashioned street fight. But just then, something happens. Superman's grasp on He-Man breaks, and Superman asks, "What's going on?" He-Man stands up, telling him, "The power of Grayskull flows through your machines. I've connected myself directly to a conduit for the two things you'd never be able to contain: magic and hope." He-Man gets up, punching Superman with such force that those around them can hear crack-a-doom. Over in Eternia, the sorcerer shouts that he will never have the Orb of Power. So Darkseid walks through the sorceress's attack, stating that it is something sought by demons, wizards, and serpentine conquerors. "You can keep it." He smacks the sorceress on the head, knocking her away, stating that it is something else that he has come for. "I know all things but one. There is a tale unknown to most of an age-long past, when there lived a man named Hero, the most powerful wizard in the universe. In his quest for universal peace and harmony, he came upon an equation. The equation was so powerful that it convinced any who viewed it the futility of existence and made them pliable to complete domination. Recognizing the power one such thing buried in his mind, hoping to prevent it from being discovered by anyone else. So strong his will to do so that upon his death, his spirit carried on guarding the equation and giving this fabled keep its power for eons. And perhaps it would have it for eons more if all things did not end with the dark side." Back on Earth, He-Man begins to walk towards Superman when he suddenly feels something changing within him. His powers of He-Man are slowly beginning to fade, reverting him to just Prince Adam. Superman jumps up, grabbing He-Man by the throat, stating, "I've got a new magical artifact for you to experiment on, Skeletor." When Superman doesn't get an answer, he looks around and asks, "Where is Skeletor?" Over in Eternia, Darkseid uses the Soul Siphon to learn of Hero's equation, and then a voice calls out to him asking, "Is the loneliness of a good equation the desolation of evil?" Darkseid says, "Ah, my servile lackey, as you can see, my plan has come to fruition. You have done your part well, now come kneel before your master." Skeletor then says, "I have tried getting here for years, but only one carrying a blade imbued with the power of a great wizard can enter and take its secrets. He-Man has that sword and he wouldn't give it up. So, master, if I was going to take what was rightfully mine was to make my own and imbue it with the power of another great wizard." He pulls out his power sword, shouting that wizard's name, Shazam! And that is the cliffhanger we're going to leave you on issue 4. If you want to go read this right now, pick up issues 5 and 6 and conclude it yourselves. Otherwise, subscribe to our channel to catch the conclusion next week. And don't forget, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Comicstorian. Thank you so much for your time and support. Now, by the power of Grayskull,